Haley. Did you know your friends can influence you? That means you might like a sport because your friends like it, or you might decide to watch a movie because your friends like it. Your friends can be good influences or bad influences. In today's Bible story, King Solomon's wives were bad influences. Watch to see what they caused Solomon to do.
King Solomon loved God, but he did not love God with his whole heart. Solomon had hundreds of wives. Many of them were from other nations. God had warned his people not to marry people from other nations because they worshiped false gods. Solomon's wives turned him away from God. He began to worship the false gods that his wives worshiped. Solomon even built shrines where his wives could worship the false gods. This made God angry. Solomon had not listened to God's warning. God said to Solomon, "Since you have done this, I will take the kingdom away from you. You will be king the rest of your life, but when your son becomes king, he will lose everything except for one tribe." God planned to make one of Solomon's officials, Jeroboam, king of most of Israel. God raised up enemies against Solomon. Jeroboam turned against Solomon and became his enemy. When Solomon died, his son Rehoboam became king. The people told Rehoboam, "Your father made us work too hard. We will gladly serve you if you make our work easier." Rehoboam thought about it and asked his friends for advice. Then he replied, "My father didn't make your work hard enough. I'll make your work even harder." This was not the response God's people were hoping for. All the people in the northern tribes didn't want to serve a king like Rehoboam, so they made Jeroboam king. Only the southern tribe of Judah remained under Rehoboam's rule. Rehoboam didn't like being king of only one tribe. He planned to attack the northern kingdom, but God sent a prophet to stop him. The prophet had a message from God. "Don't fight them. The people of Israel are part of your family. I am the Lord, and I am in control of what is happening." People of Israel would usually travel to Jerusalem to worship God at the temple. But as their new king, Jeroboam worried that if they kept going to Jerusalem, they would start thinking of Rehoboam as their king again. So Jeroboam made 2 golden calves. "You don't need to travel all the way to Jerusalem to worship at the temple," he said. "Look, these golden calves are the gods who brought our ancestors out of Egypt. You can worship them." What Jeroboam did was a sin. Those calves didn't lead God's people out of Egypt. God had rescued his people. Jeroboam also built forbidden shrines and celebrated made-up festivals so Israel would seem like a better place to live than Judah. Jeroboam led the people to worship the false gods. King Solomon's sin led to the division of Israel. Every king failed to lead God's people perfectly. God's people needed a better king, a perfect king. Through David's family, God would send his own son, Jesus Christ, to be king over God's people forever. Jesus would lead the people perfectly back to God.
Solomon worshipped false gods because his wives worshipped false gods. Because of what Solomon did, the nation of Israel was divided. They split into 2 groups with 2 kings. One day, God's people would have a king who would bring all his people together. God planned to send Jesus, the perfect king.